This is Countdown to the Grey Cup with Bill Kelly, delivered by Purolator on the Ticats Audio Network.
Welcome to another edition of Countdown to the Grey Cup, delivered by Purolator. I'm your host, Bill Kelly. Real thrill. We got a great player interview for you coming up a little bit later on in the show, but we want to talk about some of the events that are going to be happening. I mean, Grey Cup week is a big deal, and as good as the one was a couple of years ago, and I mean, don't forget that was still just at the tail end of COVID, it still turned out to be a great festival and a great week. But I know that the Tiger Cats said at the time, you just wait till 2 years from now. Well, here we are. And this is promising to be one of the biggest events, maybe one of the best Grey Cup festivals of all time. And one of the guys that's front and center for this whole thing is our next guest. Jonathan Prinsell is a director for the Grey Cup Festival. Great to have you with us. I know how busy you are. I had to yank you away probably from phone calls that you're making these days. Let me first of all ask you, so far so good. You look at the announcements that have been made, the plans that have been made. This is shaping up to be one hell of a week, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we're very excited of what we've announced so far, and I think there's a lot more that's going to be coming out in a couple of weeks. But Carrie Underwood on Friday nights and Green Day halftime, as well as announcing a bunch of local bands recently. We're very excited for what we're able to show. The people of Hamilton and the people that are coming in from out of market that have potentially never been here before. So we're excited to kind of show off what we can offer.
Well, when I talk to some of your guys, some of your fellow employees with the Cats, Matt and Jerry and other guys, and, they say, we want to make this the best thing ever. And I said, that's huge. I mean, I've been to past Grey Cups. The 100th Festival in Toronto a few years ago was a great show, great party, went off so well. Winnipeg, everybody that gets a shot at it. But you guys had a master plan, didn't you? And he says, just wait and see what's going on. And this is right into your wheelhouse. I mean, this is what you do. So you just say this, I guess the whole city right now is this is your portrait, and it's up to you guys to kind of paint it. And you're the kind of, hey, hold my beer guy, and I'm going to make this thing work. I know you don't do it by yourself. There's a great team that's working with you on this. But it's incredible to see how you can all pull this together. And it's not just something that, hey, yeah, there's a football game that Sunday. This covers the whole city. As a matter of fact, it covers the Niagara Peninsula too. You guys are everywhere that week, aren't you?
We are, yeah. I mean, you've kind of mentioned it. Like, we're trying to bring the best of Hamilton together. So, working with Supercrawl, which is one of the best music festivals in the region, kind of utilizing them to kind of create a unique festival experience downtown. You mentioned the regional Grey Cup. We've brought the CFL Awards and a couple of other events out into Niagara Falls with some great partnerships with the province of Ontario. It's not just about Hamilton. It's about the region and really showing off what all we have to offer. And we're very excited that, we just announced last week, 40 Canadian bands from the local market that are going to be performing on the streets. So we're very excited to kind of show off all of that stuff for everybody who's coming down to enjoy the Grey Cup Festival.
And what you guys have done here, which I think is so fabulous, is you're not inventing the wheel here. You're basically shining the light on some of the great things that we already have in this area. Tim Podosick and his group, of course, have done an incredible job with Supercrawl over the years. It's, as you say, one of the highlights of the entire year when he has his festival. And music scene in Hamilton has always been here. And musicians know that. You talk to some of the great musicians around here, and they always point to Hamilton and say that's where organically a lot of this stuff has grown from. And now we're going to be able to show it off. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, like Thursday to Saturday on the festival stage, downtown Hamilton on James Street, we're going to have, as I mentioned before, 40 Canadian bands. So this includes a SiriusXM Kickoff party headlined by the Dirty Nil and performances from the Royal Canadian Air Force Band and NOBRO. Like, we're going to be, put on quite a cool show for anyone who's into the music scene that wants to come down and check it out. It's all free. So not only do we have kind of the paid events that are, Carrie Underwood and that kind of stuff that's going on, we have a lot of stuff for, families and people who just kind of want to check it out without spending any money. We've got a lot of fun, cool stuff for everybody.
Well, and that's one of the nice things about this. I mentioned years ago when George Stephanopoulos was doing the show here, Strombanopoulos, and he had Gord Downey on, the late Gord Downey on. and he was kind of throwing questions at him. He says, "Best city in Canada for live music," and Gord Downey said, "Hamilton." without hesitation. That's a Kingston guy saying that, but that's because the clubs are here, the talent is here. People love to come here because there's great folks that can produce music, great folks that can write music, and we've got local bands like the Arkells and Monster Truck and so many others. But others from other areas come into this area too. So this is going to be a blast, and it's really just kind of an extension, I guess, Jonathan, of what we've been doing in this city for years. But now everybody who comes to Hamilton is going to be exposed to that and can have a blast. And as you say, most of this stuff are free events. You can just show up and have a great old time.
100%. Yeah, we're very excited to, show off all these local partners. And I mean, other things that are kind of going on down there too that are free. We have, the armory. We're going to have, showing off an actual active armory that no one in Hamilton probably has ever stepped foot in unless you're involved with the military. That's going to be opening their doors, and we're going to have, fun activations for the full family. So, we got music, we got fun stuff for family to do. So, obviously encouraging anyone in the area to come on down and check out what we're doing. We've got a lot of cool things that are unique to our Grey Cup. And you mentioned the regional part too. So, I mean, we actually announced the CFL Awards this week. So that's now on sale on Ticketmaster.ca. That's down in Niagara Falls. So, a lot of cool things going on. And we're actually releasing, I think, later this week, the regional transportation service. So, if you're from the area down in Niagara, or if you're coming to the region and want to stay down in Niagara, we do have some information on hotels on the website, but we will have a shuttle service that brings people back and forth. Free of charge as well, as we worked with the province of Ontario to kind of get that up and running. So a lot of cool things we're doing, and anyone that's kind of down in the Niagara region, you can kind of sign up for that. Details will be on greatcupfestival.ca probably later this week.
And there's a lot of coordination that has to go on here between levels of government, aren't there? I mean, the municipalities, Niagara, of course, Niagara Falls, Hamilton. And I guess it doesn't hurt that the minister in charge of this whole thing is former Tiger Cat and Argo. Neil Lumsden, of course, is the provincial minister for this. So he knows how important this is, and I'm sure that he's doing what he can to make this thing work.
For sure. Yeah, we're working closely with Minister Lumsden, as well as kind of his team, as well as people down in Niagara Falls, the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce. They're doing a co-event with the Hamilton Chamber of Commerce down in the Niagara Falls region that weekend as well, too. So, yeah, working with a lot of different people to kind of put on some cool things that we're hoping that everybody who comes down will find something that they'll enjoy to do, whether it's music, fun activations, the team parties. There's something for everybody.
Just a big jump. I know we're almost out of time here, and I know you've got to get back to work. But talk to us a little bit about the tailgate party that day. I've experienced that in other cities where I've gone to Grey Cups. And it's, boy, you want to get pumped up for the game. It's going to be a big event. It's going to be right across the road from the stadium. And there's going to be entertainment, there's going to be food, and it's a great way to develop that camaraderie with the people that are probably just going to go across the street and enjoy the game after that. But it's always a big event, and I wanted you to mention it because I don't want people to think of the last minute, I wish we'd known about that. It can be a big part of the day, can't it?
100%. Yeah, we've got a lot going on game day too. Some that's kind of announced and some that's still coming out. But yeah, we do have our indoor kind of tailgate, which we're calling the Caretakers Game Day Warm Up, hosted by the Tiger Town Council. So that is right across the street at Bernie Morelli Center. So pretty much right on the stadium footprint. Tickets are on sale right now on greatcupfestival.ca. So if you're looking for some live music, some drinks, maybe get away from the potential cold weather or hopefully really good weather. We'll see what we have. That is right across the street, as well as within the plaza of the stadium. If you have a game ticket, you can enter, and there's a lot of fun activations and stuff in there too. So if you're looking for something indoors, we got something for you. If you're looking just to kind of get to the game a bit early and have some fun, there'll be music and a lot of fun things to do right there on the stadium footprint.
It's going to be a blast. Jonathan, thank you so much for this. As you mentioned, I know more announcements are going to be coming up in the next few days about some of the other entertainment and some of the other venues that are going to be happening. But we want to keep people up to date. And as you just mentioned, greatcupfestival.ca is probably the best place to go to get the latest, isn't it?
100%. Yes, it is.
Jonathan Prinsell. Jonathan, continue good luck with what you guys are doing. And thanks so much for spending some time with us today.
Thank you very much.
Calgary in this 79th edition of the Grey Cup game. There's that pump fake. Dunigan keeps, gets the first down, running to the 50-yard line.
Don, I've been watching Matt Dunigan throughout this game on the sidelines, and he's nothing like he usually is. And what I mean by that is he has been in discomfort, obvious discomfort with gusts up to pain, so that makes his effort today truly outstanding.
09 with the clock running and winding down in the third quarter. Dunigan fakes inside, steps up, throws deep for Darryl Smith. He's got a touchdown. Well, if there was any concern about Dunigan's ability to put some zip in the football, he certainly disproved them right there with a 47-yard pass to Darryl K. Smith, and he rifled that one down the seam. Matt Dunigan runs with the ball, and Matt Dunigan is brought down at the 37-yard line.
Albert got the Grey Cup wrapped up. He sprints out, and instead of going out of bounds that would let the clock run, what did he do? He put his head down, drove through about 4 different people, and Wayne Gretzky saying, hey, that's my guy, that's my quarterback.
Dunigan breaks Danny Barrett's record for passing yards in a single game, 713 yards. He breaks the old record by 112 and shatters his old team record by nearly 250 yards.
Hey, glad you're with us here for this edition of Countdown to the Grey Cup, brought to you by Purolator. I'm your host, Bill Kelly. One of the joys, of course, about doing this program as we head up to the Grey Cup in Hamilton in just a few weeks now is talking to some of the all-time Canadian football greats and their memories about Grey Cups. And to that end, we are so happy to have our next guest with us. He is, of course, a member of the Canadian Football Hall of Fame, multiple Grey Cup winner, and one of the all-time greats in this game, of all time. You name it. As a matter of fact, the list they talk about the modern era, this guy is on that list. He is, of course, Matt Dunigan. Matt, great to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Just anticipating what blitzes you're going to throw at me, what curveballs, where the pressure's going to come from. I'm tired of taking. I'm not in the mood to take any sacks today.
Well, you were always known for quick release, so I think you're going to be fine. Okay, and we're all a little older now, but you've still got that going for you. Yeah. I want to talk about Grey Cup, and we are, because you've got some fabulous memories. You made history in a lot of those Grey Cups. But I gotta, as some folks who may be just catching on to the league and some of the all-time greats, a couple of other things that I want to talk about in the league's history. And one of them, of course, and I know this is a cliche, and we all hear sports cliches all the time, Matt. That's a record that will never be broken, and then all of a sudden it gets broken. But there are two that stand out in me from the CFL, and yours is one of them. And that, of course, is passing yardage. 1994, you were playing for the Bombers at the time. 713 yards passing in one game. Some quarterbacks, that's a season's worth of passing yardage. You did it in one game against the Edmonton Eskimos. Nobody's going to come close to that. I mean, come on. We've seen some great quarterbacks on both sides of the border, but that's going up and down the field over 7 times, Matt. Talk to us about that day and just how things started to click for you.
Well, it started way before that day. I had blown out my Achilles the year before in 93, week 16, and we went to the Grey Cup, and we faced the Edmonton Eskimos at the time, and they beat us, I don't know, it was like 33-20, I want to say 33-23, something like that. And, we had 7 turnovers that game. And that stung, obviously, losing the Grey Cup to that football team, because we had beat them handily during the regular season twice that year. And their scores like 53-11, 52-12, something like that. It was just, we had their number. And when I'm standing on the sidelines watching our team, which we felt we had their number, lose, it was tough. So, that offseason we trained, and the next time we saw them was that football game you mentioned where we put 713 on them. And we beat them 50-35. We should have had 850, in my opinion. We left some out there. And but it was just kind of like trying to right the ship. It's not going to put a ring on our finger. But at the end of the day, it felt pretty good to say, yeah, and it was important for us to win that time of year because it was early in the football season, and we were off to a kind of inauspicious start, and that kind of set us back on track, and it was a good way to kind of right the ship a bit with the Edmonton Eskimos at the time and say, yeah, things could have been different, should have been different last year, but yeah, it was motivation for a long time, Bill, and that kind of fueled the fire for that football game.
What was that as this is happening? I mean, I know you're focused on the game, and number one job is to win. I get that, but the rhythm that you establish, you're in a groove. I mean, you were a pretty good baseball player in your time too, and we all talk about ball players that are in a groove. The 20-game hitting streaks and things like that. We had kind of like just on it. No matter what you were going to throw, it was going to get caught. I mean, and you've told me in the past. I know that quarterbacks' records are a team record because somebody's got to block, somebody's got to catch, etc. But it just seemed that everything worked for you that day.
Well, you go back to the year before, and I keep referencing that because so much of what football is tendencies and what teams are capable of doing, what they like to do, what they're going to do, recognizing it and making adjustments. And so we had destroyed them with our inside slot receivers twice in 1993, and just some gaudy numbers with Gerald Wilcox and Gerald Elfin, and they weren't going to allow that to happen to us in 1994, and so they tried to take those guys away. So I just started feeding the football to David Williams and Alfred Jackson, and those guys went off. And so it was just a bit of a strategy game, and they tried to take one thing away when we went to another, and that was kind of our mindset. And I just kept feeding AJ and David, and it was pretty much pitch and catch because those guys, it was like, okay, you want me to throw the heater? I'll throw the heater, and it's like, and you set them down. And AJ and David were setting them down. Everything I threw their way, they were catching. And it was just, okay. And Edmonton really never got out of the mindset of trying to take our slots away. And so we just kept feeding it outside. And yeah, it was one of those things where, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Just keep slinging it. And we did. And I remember when we were close, I think we were sitting at 699, and Alan Boyko was the receiver that actually set us over the top of 700. And I look up, and he's uncovered to my right. And, it's kind of, give him that look like the ball's coming your way. And I get the ball in my hands, and I snap, and I give it to him, and he runs and makes a guy miss and picks up 14 yards, and that was the end of it. And it was a pretty special day because so many people involved. I think it was Chris Walby's 200th game too, and he was recognized at halftime, and they gave him some type of hokey prize, and he was looking for a car, and he got a football, and it was one of those things where typical Walby, he takes that and expands upon it. Says, yeah, I had to stencil the lettering back on myself and glue it, and it still sits on my shelf. It's not the vehicle he was looking for, but I think Louis Pasaglia had broken some record and gotten a vehicle from the Lions, and so he's thinking for his 200, he's going to get a nice car or something, and he got him a football. And that was happening at halftime. Walby's like, son of a gun, now you got to go off and go for 700 plus. And, it's like they don't even think about me. But, yeah, it was a team effort in our defense. Damon Allen was on this side of that. And, we all love Damon, 23 years and what he was able to do in the league. And he made it close. And so, obviously, in those type of football games, and I've seen many since then, is you got to continue, you play the game accordingly. And they'd kind of made a late push at the half. And then we came out still aggressive, and then they started scoring, and it kept it close. And so our mentality was we can't let up off the gas pedal. And oftentimes in games you see people, they just shut it down, and so the game doesn't really play out, and it's not conducive to continue to be aggressive. We had to be, and we felt like, and it's just one of those nights.
Well, it's one of the great nights in Canadian football history. By the way, just FYI, one of the other ones was, of course, Joe Zuger in 1962, 8 touchdown passes in one game. You don't see that every day either. And
no, you don't. Those are special nights, and something's clicking. Something's not right defensively, or something's right offensively, and you just keep wearing it out. And oftentimes, as an offensive coordinator, as a head coach, as a quarterback, you can start seeing ghosts and not continue to wear something out that's there. and says, I can't be there. I'm going somewhere else, and then you lose the magic. You just got to continue to, I think, feed that and take it and trust your eyes. And oftentimes people don't, and they get off of it because they thinking, it can't possibly be there again. Oh no, it is. And it's one of those phenomenons too that lead to these type of situations, and why it's so rare, because a lot of things come into play.
There's a lot going on with Grey Cup records and Grey Cup history, too, and you were a big part of that, of course. 5 Grey Cups. I mean, you won a couple of them. It just seemed to be almost part of your career. And we know some guys, of course, that have played in the league for a long, long time, have never even made it to a Grey Cup. But, the old idea about good luck is a result of hard work and effort in situations like this. You surrounded yourself with some pretty good teams of them, but you always seem to have that extra push. And the one that I think stands out for a lot of football fans here, Matt, of course, is that, the Toronto game, of course, the 1991 team. That was a special year for Canadian football, and you were a part of that with the Argos. A brand new ownership group, a celebrity ownership group, of course, and a real push in Toronto to make the Argos, the number one sports team in that city, which has always been a struggle. And I know you guys have talked about that on the panel on TSN for the longest time, too. But again, this year, probably the best team in the league, hands down. And the fans are just kind of warming up to it right now. But in that particular year, talk to us about walking through that year. What was it, 13-5, I think you guys went that year. And it was not easy. I mean, there were a lot of hard-fought football games in there.
Yeah. It was the 90 team we thought was just as explosive and as good. And, it was – anyways, the 91 team was special. And it was special because of our ownership group, the way that they treated us, and obviously getting the Rocket up here and to go along with our special team. And I often describe the Rocket as a 21-year-old shield for a bunch of all-star professional athletes that knew how to get it done and could hold a room by themselves. All 40-plus of us on that football team, I think, had just incredible personalities and approaches, and then you get an opportunity to relax wherever you go because everybody wants to talk to the Rocket, and they want to. And so he's out there answering all the questions and fielding the media as everybody else is veteran players relaxing, having a good time, just taking care of business. And it was a pretty unique scenario for us. A lot of ups and downs too that year. Obviously a lot of injuries to work through. Personally, I had broken my collarbone twice that season, and obviously going into that Grey Cup, it was shattered in 3 places, and for the life of me, I look back at that and look at Adam Rita and his decision that he made to start me over Ricky Foggy in that game. It's like, what are you thinking? It's like Ricky is like the best backup quarterback in the history of the CFL and can light it up with the best of them. And you go with me, but it was one of those scenarios that I think it was destiny for this football team. We had so many guys that were duct taped and injured together, which is often the case that time of year. Chris Gaines, Mike Pinball Clemens, myself, and so many other guys were just piecemealed back together to go play in that football game in horrific conditions against a very good football team in the Calgary Stampeders.
One of the plays of that game that jumps out, I think, at a lot of people's minds, though, Matt, is that long touchdown pass to the Rocket. It was a bitterly cold day. I don't think I need to remind you of that in that particular Grey Cup. And we knew that you were banged up. I mean, a lot of the time they're not specific about those injuries, but we knew that this was going to be a challenge for you to play that game. Yet it's as if nothing's going on. Do you blank it out? I mean, there's some pain, there's some discomfort there. Your body is probably saying, "Go and sit down, Matt. You shouldn't be doing this." But you just overcome that.
Well, it wasn't mind over matter. It was drugs over matter. Yeah, it was Zalocaine, Marcaine, and syringe and adrenaline a couple of times before and during the game and halftime. It's just there was no getting around that without medicine. So Yeah, I threw a touchdown pass that game to DK Smith, may he rest in peace.
That's what, yeah.
And I didn't even want to call that play. I was, we weren't very good that day offensively. We weren't. We had 9 first downs. 9 first downs in a Grey Cup game, and we win 36-21. As defense, it's Ed Berry interception, take it back. It's Roggins kickoff return, take it back, and I threw a couple touchdown passes, and then Chomik adds a couple field goals, and it's a ball game. But we weren't very good offensively, and so I had a hard time, keeping my eyes focused on the defense, let alone having to turn and fake and take my eyes off the defense and relocate, get my eyes right again. And Adam called timeout and called me over and says, "Look, you don't run this football play. I'm sending Foggy in." And I'm going, "Oh, okay." I roll back out there and I run the play that Adam wanted to run, and DK was wide open down the slot, and I just had to somehow muster up enough, courage to sling it down there, and he was wide open, and I got it out there, and it was an easy walk-in touchdown. But it's funny how things play out and what you remember of those plays and those games, and that was one of those plays where I was just dead set. There's no freaking way I'm running it, and because I can't do things. We're keeping our defense, let alone taking them off. But Adam knew what was going on, and he was the right coach. Fabulous leader of men, continues to be that way, and that's an example of it on that special day that capped off and just an unbelievable football season.
You, to use the sports phrase, I guess, you always played hard. I mean, the part of your history in the Canadian Football League, of course, were injuries. You talked about the collarbone, you've had Achilles injuries, etc. You don't back down from anybody. As we've talked about in the past, I was the in-stadium announcer for 15 years for the Tiger Cats in those days. And some of the stuff that you did on the football field and some of the stuff that I figured, how can he even get up after that? But you just came through like that. And it's part of the game. I know injuries are part of the game. And you mentioned even that Grey Cup. I mean, pinball was banged up and everybody else gets by that time of the year. But you always played hard. And we've seen athletes in the past, Matt, and I know you guys talk about this again on the panel. Somebody gets injured, they miss a couple of games, and there's a little party that says, okay, is he still going to have what it takes? Or is he going to play shy because he doesn't want to get hurt again? I've never seen you play a down of football where you backed off and thought, okay, I don't want to get banged up again. You were a quarterback that played like a linebacker, and that seemed to be your attitude.
Yeah, it was. It's just my interpretation of how the game's supposed to be played, what I brought to the table. I wasn't playing so much for the name in the front of my jersey. I was playing for the name in the back because of my brothers, my father. Just this is the way the Dunigans roll, and so I always just that was just what I did. I encourage players to do that today because everybody is different, and you bring unique skill sets to the field, whether that's mental, physical. It's what makes you who you are, and I think that, and even like a Trey Ford or a Dustin Crum in today's game, I watch these kids, and when I talk to them, I encourage them to be who they are. You'll figure out the game, but God gave you a certain skill set, use it and abuse it. And so often I'm sitting there watching games with my colleagues, or I hear people say, you got to get down, or he's got to get down there. Oh, that's a business decision, run out of bounds. It's like, I was out there playing football. It was like kill the guy with the ball in the front yard, just sling them off your shoulders and get as much as you possibly can to stay up and move the sticks or put the ball in the end zone. That's the idea. And so no matter what you're playing with, and there's often times where a coach would ask you, hey, can you go this week? We need a W. And it's like, yeah, I can go. You know that I'm playing with a torn hamstring, but I'll play. And you need to go out there and you take that mentality. It's who I was. That's how I played. I just and I'm glad I was able to to last for 14 years, ups and downs. Started only 166 football games, and who knows? I don't, but hindsight's 20/20, and I just didn't want to ever regret not being who I was and leaving it out on the football field. And I think people pay good money to watch you play, and you're there to entertain and to play it like you know how. And that's how I knew how, Bill.
Well, and I know it's in your blood. I mean, we're still season ticket holders, of course, at Tim Hortons Field for the Tiger Cats. And when you guys are doing the games on TSN, the broadcast booth is way down in the corner of one of the end zones for people that don't know the stadium. But invariably, I see you down on the field. As soon as the game starts, you and maybe Milt, but usually you will walk down there. It's in your blood. You've got to be down on the field. And what I like about this is, because we sit right by the Ticat bench, the players come over to you. And they want to talk to you. I mean, you're a mentor. You're a Canadian football legend. Are you comfortable with that?
I don't see myself that way. I just see myself as a guy in a position to stick his nose in there. And I've caught myself over the years, standing next to the head coach on the sidelines, and or as close to him as possible. But yeah, it's just. It's a very unique position that we have in the broadcasting world. You can't do it anymore. I'm not coaching anymore, but you're involved in it, and it's tangible. You can talk to the players during and after the ball game. Sometimes, before and after the ball game. Sometimes during, as you alluded to, but. And to me, that's incredible. You get to talk to them on Zoom calls, when you're doing a game and calling a game, and I absolutely love that aspect of it because you're able to talk about it and interpret things and tell people how you're seeing it. And the unique aspect of that, Bill, to me is the players and coaches, they write the story. We simply tell it. And to me, that's a really cool thing. And then you can not embellish, but you can put your own flavor on what they're writing and tell that story. And it's a pretty unique position to be in. And to being down on the field is one of those opportunities where if you don't take full advantage of it and talk to those guys, then you're missing out.
Well, it's like that old commercial, the investor thing, when so-and-so speaks, everybody listens. Well, when Matt Dunigan speaks football, people listen. Matt, pleasure having you on the show today. Thanks so much for this. Continued good luck in your broadcasting career, and stay healthy. It's great to talk with you again.
Yeah, absolutely, Bill. Anytime, okay? We'll see you.
Take care. The great Matt Dunigan, CFL Hall of Famer. That's it for this edition of Countdown to the Grey Cup. By the way, for all the latest info about the 2023 Grey Cup, go to thegreycupfestival.ca for all the details. And watch for this next edition of Countdown to the Grey Cup. I'm Bill Kelly. See you next time on the Ticat Audio Network.